This video is brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MHB at checkout for 10% off your next order. Going from Cars to Saw might be one of the wildest shifts in content I've done so far, but when you're in the mood to play something, you gotta go for it. The Saw series has to be up there for me as one of my favorite horror IPs. I love the concept, the traps, the stories, the soap level drama as the series goes on, even when the series gets a bit more ridiculous with things like Terminator Hoffman or movies like Jigsaw and Spiral, which I'm simply not a fan of, but as a whole I do love this series, and I have ever since I was probably 11? Saw 5 was 2008, right? I somehow stumbled across this series, don't remember how, but I remember the first movie I watched was 5, and sort of went from there, catching up on the films and watching every release since. Tobin Bell is the self-righteous
Killing is distasteful.
John Kramer, the Jigsaw Killer, who we learn more about as the series continues, the unique traps these people are put through that make you squirm, the storyline filled with twists and turns, the aesthetic of the whole thing. I really could go on and on. I love the films, and so when I found out back in 2009 that there was a Saw video game, I had to play it, and from memory, I really enjoyed it. I don't remember it being a perfect game or even necessarily a good game, but as a Saw fan, it was definitely fun. Oh, and this game is canon, even being written by Lee Winnell and James Wan, the original creators of the series and some fellow Aussies. You love to see it. Talk about having the right pieces to make for one hell of a Saw experience. So after dropping another $100 on a PS3 game, seriously, the market is killing me trying to get some of that nostalgia. I wanted to see how after almost 15 years the Saw game holds up, and of course, grab that Platinum Trophy too while I'm at it. As always, if you do end up enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, comment below some more platinums you'd like to see me tackle next, subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos, go over to twitch.tv/MayorHairBear where we streamed this entire platinum journey live, or MayorHairBear VODs in case you can't catch the streams but still enjoy hours and hours of content. Now in terms of Saw's Platinum Trophy, this one is one of those games that absolutely throws trophies your way. There's not really any need for going step by step, any guides or much planning in general for most of this experience. You have chapter select and saves to help get both endings and save playing through the game multiple times, and most trophies are either story or kill based. It really is almost like maybe a few trophies away from being a platinum experience you could get by accident just by playing the game. But I'll show you what I mean. The game begins as most Saw experiences do, with a trap. Here from Billy the Puppet we learned that we play as Detective Tapp from the original film played by Danny Glover. Before the game we get good old Lewis from Left 4 Dead.
I ain't got time to bleed. Oh hell, I am bleeding.
In the film, Tapp was shot and presumed dead, but hey, the game brought him back to life to torture him a bit more. He's been captured by Jigsaw to try and teach Tapp a good old-fashioned lesson. That being to learn to call it a day on the whole trying to catch a killer thing. But first, to learn that lesson, we need to escape our first trap, which is the iconic reverse bear trap. And, well, I didn't fare so well in my first trap, to put it lightly, resulting in our first trophy for dying once. Hang on, something just happened. Darwin would be proud. We got a trophy for being... Yeah, I was trying to play with a PS5 remote and then learned I needed the 6-axis from the PS3 controller for this game. So after connecting the right controller and finally figuring out the flashing lights were button inputs, we escaped our first trap with probably one of the funniest yells in gaming to boot. There we go, I knew that was going to be a trophy. It's a trap! Now much like the Saw films, the game itself is much larger than Tapp himself. The game is set in an asylum and it's up to Tapp to save those in similar situations and hopefully learn his lesson. We stumble across another Jigsaw victim who leads us to the medical wing where we get our first glimpse at Pighead. At least the trophy says Pighead, this game is way too dark for no reason. What was that? Literally a few seconds later, we find our first asylum file. I think is very good. Would you like to know more? Sure. And then a few more steps away, also unlock our first container, which I think we got for searching this dude having a quick cat nap on the ground here. Treasure. Jesus Christ, man. Here we get a silhouetted glimpse at our first victim in need of saving, apparently a victim of our obsession, so we need to make our way to her. only to quickly be betrayed by our buddy from earlier, which is where we learned that we're also being hunted by other players in the asylum for our key. Where is this key? I'll get there in a second. First, we have a 1v1 on our hands here, and this is probably as good a time as any to mention the combat in this game isn't very good. In fact, it's pretty terrible. It's clunky and mainly relies on stun locking opponents who can do the same to you just as easily. It does make for some funny moments though, as you'll see in this video, and with a pipe handy, we defeat our first minion for a whopping 3 trophies. 1 for fighting an NPC, defeating an NPC, and defeating an enemy with the pipe. Oh god. Oh my good lord. That was so dumb. What is happening? We're getting so many. Dude! What the what the heck? That's crazy. Alright, we're at 8. We've been playing for like 20 minutes, by the way. Yeah, those weapon-specific ones take up a good 19 trophies on this list, so we'll be keeping an eye out for the unique weapons and using them every chance we get. But we're not done with the trophy spam just yet, as before moving on, we also find our first patient file. Okay. We have to see what the f is popping, because I don't know what the hell we're getting. And as we progress, we find out Jigsaw saved Tap by removing the bullet he was shot with, but putting another present inside for good measure. Just outside our old room in the asylum, we stumble across our first lockpick minigame, which while my brain took a while to compute, is actually a fun and unique puzzle for your basic lockpicking, just needing to match the symbols in the circle. And of course, it unlocks another trophy. Okay, we're up to 10 trophies. We've been playing for 25 minutes. And like 10 of those minutes were me struggling on the first trap. Now, I know someone is in peril that we need to try and help, but I sort of want to soak in the environment for a good old, I don't know, 5 minutes or so before moving onward. There is a trophy for waiting 5 minutes of the game. It's called Wasted Your Life. No shot there is. No shot that's a trophy. It is a trophy, my god. Alright, let's stand around for 5 minutes. Yeah, 100%. Alright, you've wasted your life. We made our way through the medical ward, putting our previous plumbing skills to work to grab a key, and by the time we reached our next puzzle, that was when I really knew if I was in these situations, I just don't have the brain power to make it. I'm cooked. That's probably the highlight of this game though. Outside of the goofy puzzles to solve these traps, it really does make you feel like you're in the movies, especially when that clock starts ticking down. We continue down these broken down halls, managing to find a scalpel and crutch and, well, taking care of business, whether the person knows it or not. Got him with the old scalpel. That's gotta be a trophy, yeah. You'll need this afterwards. By this point, we couldn't carry any more mystery health syringes, so I finally had the excuse to use one. Just experimenting. And we finally found the key to the room we'd been searching for. Only problem is it's on the back of our deceased partner's badge, who Tap got killed in the first movie. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence, and we move on to victim number 1, Amanda Young, voiced by the one and only Jen Taylor, the iconic Cortana of all people. I don't know. Is that Cortana? What the f is she doing in this game? Amanda didn't learn her lesson, and to save her, we need to play a game called Little Red Pill Goes in the Red Tube and Blue Pill Goes in the Blue Tube. Which again, took me a little longer than I care to admit to figure out what the hell to do here. But we do eventually figure it out. I mean, it's a pretty basic weight puzzle, and free ourselves and Amanda ready to tackle the asylum together. Damaged goods. Well, for all of a couple of minutes until she gets taken away. It's here we learn about our next victim, fellow police officer Jennings, who killed somebody and framed an innocent man to go to prison in his place. I'd say yikes, but we have to save some even more deplorable human beings in the next game. Anyway, as we continue onward, we're attacked by Pighead and strapped with a shotgun collar as seen in Saw 3. This collar will go off if we get too close for too long to another person wearing one, and vice versa. Remember that for later. Now, here would have been a good spot to test that theory, but instead I decided to smack him to death with a mannequin arm.
Gimme 5.
And a little down the ways also got 3 more KOs with a table lamp, a mop handle, and a table leg for good measure.
Lights off. Cleaning up. You've been served.
There's not much to talk about in this chapter, just a lot of Steam related traps on our way to Jennings, which was probably one of my weakest puzzles for the whole game, once again not helped by that ticking clock. As we plodded along though, I did manage to unlock my 5th locked door.
Leg suit blade. Ah, locksmith. There you go. We're up to 20. We've been playing for less than 2 hours.
Before getting back to some more kill trophies, like for taking out 10 minions.
Idiot. Self-defense.
And getting some more glorious knockouts with the nail bat, a syringe, and a regular bat.
Sometimes it sticks. Oh. What kind of name is that? Penetrated. Home run.
But after some time, we finally progress and find Jennings, who is about to be hit with the pendulum trap from Saw 5. And to save him, we need to complete 4 gear puzzles. These puzzles are pretty frequent in the game, and just involve connecting 2 spinning cogs by placing more gears. And my god, am I awful at them. I never really got better either, it's almost more luck we got through this one after my 2nd attempt. Jennings is free, and for some reason, much like the rest of the people in this game, he shows no gratitude for saving him and instead just berates us, saying all of this is our fault, which I mean is sort of the game we're playing, but also let's not pretend you weren't on Jigsaw's list anyway, alright mate? But hey, we saved a murderer, yay us.
I do right now so I can't watch. Hit and run!
Hopefully the next victim isn't so rude. It's Detective Singh's wife, Melissa. Yeah, probably not going to be a warm welcome, but we need to save her. No way can we be responsible for 2 deaths in the same family. This area has a lot of poison gas and fire we need to make our way through, but again, not too much to talk about here that I haven't already. So, onto the trophies, like for taking out this pesky Molotov thrower with one quick shot of America.
Say hello to my little friend.
Getting rid of a collared minion by, well, letting their collar do the work for us.
There we go, kill or be killed.
And whilst looking for a key at Singh's grave, because for some reason they buried him here, we managed to take out our 20th minion.
Duress. That was self-defense, man.
And grab a quick kill with a shovel for good measure.
Hey, Gravedigger, there we go.
But in no time we'd made our way to Melissa, who was in a trap reminiscent of an Iron Maiden, just with buzzsaws. Because the Iron Maiden would be too simple, I guess. Anyway, she's here because she couldn't let go of her anger towards Tap for her husband's death, and became a neglectful mother in the process. But Jigsaw also informs her that if Tap went about this investigation legit with police assistance, then all of this could have been avoided, making him responsible for Singh's death. Thanks, mate. Now, Melissa's trap revolves around these sliding cubes. We needed to get them to the spiral, but not hit too many of the X's, or else bye-bye Melissa. And this was the first one and done trap for me, as it was pretty straightforward.
Slow ass Jimbo, dude, I'm trying. At least I'm quicker than, I'm still quicker than Jeff. Absent parent. We're up to 30 now.
Melissa didn't learn her lesson though, still hating Tap, but she leaves and at least our conscience is somewhat cleared for helping her escape, and we're ready to keep on moving on. Next up, Oswald McGillicuddy, who's been trying to frame Tap as the Jigsaw killer, all but ruining our reputation. But he still needs saving, so on we go. This chapter is very much same old thing by this point, solve puzzles, defeat attackers, and find the victim, so not much to talk about here, except for those trophies, like for using 20 health kits,
I could stop anytime.
getting a kill with an explosive mine, which is one of the 3 weapons that through exploring and finding bits and pieces we can craft,
That should count? Yeah. Wait for the boom.
and grabbing a pair of scissors to do what we do best.
Does that count? Yeah, okay, it does. Splitting headache.
Now before we reach Oswald, first we need to solve a picture slider of our mate Billy the Puppet, which, okay, I haven't gone over this yet, but these puzzles do make me laugh. It's just like, yeah mate, I know you're on the brink of death, but let me do my picture puzzle. It's just ridiculous, but in a funny way. To be fair, this did give me some grief though. I mean, there's no contrast to this thing, making it a royal pain.
I mean, is that not the puzzle? Looks like it to me. Maybe one of these is the wrong way. Okay. One of the background pieces was not right. How the...
But we finally do the type of puzzle I'd give to my son, not with Billy the Puppet of course, no nightmares on my watch, and reach Oswald, who is here because he lies and twists his story to make those involved look worse and get a bigger payday, so he's put in basically a Rack Trap 1.0. Now to save Oswald, we need to complete some circuit board puzzles, where all the lights need to turn green, which we've done plenty of times before, and most were no issue. Except for these big bastards. These just cooked my brain, especially when you're one light away. Yet again, we managed to save him though, and once again just get yelled at for our efforts, but hey, at least he escaped.
Turn around. Aphasia. Zoom.
Never mind. Before we really got our footing into the next area, I finally had the Stomp QuickTime event appear, which I'll touch on more later.
That was pure accident. I did not... That's the only time I've seen that. Curb stomp. That's the only time I've seen that stomp prompt.
And this is where I called it for the night. 5 hours in, 35 trophies done, and ready to get this platinum in the next stream. New day, new stream, and it was time to save our next victim, Orby, from Saw 2. An arsonist who actually requested to be tested by Jigsaw. Not sure why he needs our help to escape, but hey, an objective is an objective. More of the same on the way to Orby. The game sort of runs out of steam towards the end in terms of mixing in new ideas. That doesn't mean some areas didn't stump me and had me employ the pause to gather my thoughts tactic, which hey, is fair game in my book.
This man, I have to. I'm sick of doing these two puzzles, man. I gotta. Don't hate the player, hate the game, man. That was pissing me off, and I just needed more time. That's what I said. I couldn't survive this, man.
But as long as we still are getting trophies, that's fine by me. Firstly, finally taking out an enemy with a Molotov, which is surprisingly annoying.
Okay, that should be a fire kill. There we go. Fire hazard.
And making sure to weaken some enemies so that they perish to the other two mines we craft in the stun and gas mine.
Whoops. Oops. There we go. Choked up.
It doesn't take long to find Orby in his predicament, a good old furnace, and even though he's upset this isn't really his game, it's up to us to save him. To do this, we need to solve 3 of the steam valve puzzles we've seen plenty of times before, and even though initially these just hurt my brain, I can say by the end I actually sort of got pretty quick at these. Orby, like everyone else, whines when we save him because it wasn't really his test, but I'm over these whiny bastards anyway.
The whole thing is like to respect your life, and none of them do. Eager student.
Thankfully, there's just one more to go. Now, our last victim is unnamed, and all we know is they're apparently someone who doesn't want to be saved for whatever reason. This next section is probably the longest in the game as we need to find some light bulbs to tell us the door combination. Too bad there still isn't much to say about what goes on, it's standard stuff, but it was here we managed to unlock our 20th door.
Yes! Professional!
And grabbed a kill with a hatchet.
Don't think that counts as a stomp, but it is a hatchet job.
Before finally grabbing the code and finding Jeff. No, not that Jeff, this Jeff, who was saved in the first movie from Jigsaw, but due to Tap's over-the-top questioning, doesn't want to be here anymore. And so that's enough reason for Jigsaw to capture him again. Jeff is stuck in what I can only describe as a poker tied to a memory game. Match the pictures on screen to set him free, but get too many wrong and, well, he'll be full of holes. This is a really easy game, and again, a bit too childlike for a Saw puzzle, but it does lead to a hilarious moment after saving him.
Are you here to harass me some more? To interrogate me?
Are you bleeding?
What kind of question is that? Are you bleeding?
You just want to know
I mean, I see a massive puddle of blood on the floor. I want to know if that's yours.
Jeff isn't as obnoxious about being saved as the rest, but still not a happy camper. But he leaves a free man, and with all the people saved, we're free to pursue Jigsaw.
Born Victim.
Before we can get to John though, we need to take care of Pighead, who has been rather naughty, sabotaging our game and not letting people complete their tests and just killing them instead, which as we know, John doesn't like.
Killing is distasteful.
Now, we don't learn who Pighead is, but obviously it's not the main accomplices, but this guy is intimidating, until you realize the fists are the best weapon in the game. Seriously, for how many different weapons are here, the fists are way too powerful.
You little bitch. Oh. You're supposed to, I think for this boss, you're legit supposed to like, oh, place traps and get him to walk into it. It's like, nah, just stun lock him. Oh, Jesus. Violence begets violence.
But with Pighead down, it's time to make our choice and end the game. We can either choose freedom and move on from all of this, go home, or truth to, well, learn about what the hell's going on. I chose to see what freedom had in store for us first, and well, I've had a video age restricted for even discussing this same topic in a game, so I'll just say wildly depressing, but it is the canon ending, which is fun.
Never truly free. I'm pretty sure, is this the one where he, you know...
Then we reload our save and choose truth, and this is where it's at least got a classic Saw twist. We hunt a cloaked figure down who we think is Jigsaw and let out our frustration, but of course, this isn't John, it's actually Melissa Singh. I know, what a twist. Jigsaw has Melissa's son captive, and she's been forced to keep Tap on the right path forward this whole time. She tries to run away, meets the same fate as her husband, and because of this, Tap goes insane. Sent to an asylum where he still thinks he's in one of Jigsaw's games. Yeah, these endings are just depressing, but so are most of the Saw films, to be fair. I mean, not this dark, but still.
Cost of the truth.
Anyway, that was the story complete, and as you can see, we just had one more trophy to unlock before getting Saw's Platinum Trophy. So what is it? Well, you know how I said in the beginning you could almost get this Platinum by accident? Well, this is why you really can't, because we need to stomp 5 minions. Doesn't sound too bad, but this isn't Dead Space. This mechanic is just random, and through the whole game, I only managed to have 2 of these QuickTime events appear. What needs to happen is in combat, you need to make an enemy fall over and still have some health to boot, and this just doesn't happen very often. Even when grinding for this trophy using a method regarded as the easiest way to get this done, it was so inconsistent. Basically, you want to try this on the first enemy because the checkpoint is just before this to keep retrying. Go in the corner and hope an attack knocks him down before he loses all his health. I did find using a health kit just before the fight seemed to increase the chances, but still not a 100% of the time thing. But after a couple more stomps, I did get the trophy along with the platinum, and it was finally game over.
Yeah, that should be it, if it works. Yes! Fuck yeah. Merciless. Congratulations. We got it. We're not having that scene in the plat thing. I can't have it.
So, after 9 hours in total, this was so much shorter than I thought going in, what did I think of Saw's Platinum Trophy and the game in general? As always, let's start with the game first, because I can acknowledge this isn't a great game. Hell, it's not even a good game. The game is pretty clunky, the combat is sluggish, the puzzles do feel out of place with the rest of the aesthetic, and the characters can be outright annoying. It's a very average video game at best that I had so much fun playing. Again, I am a huge fan of the series, and this game really is for the fans. From the traps to the storyline, characters, just the feeling of being in this world and trying to escape is so much fun, and also, the jank is genuinely something that just had me laughing, not raging over. In terms of the platinum though, holy hell is this game a gimme. Outside of the stomping, you should have no issues getting every trophy on offer here in one playthrough. Just use different weapons, and that's about it. It does feel good to get that trophy onslaught, and overall, it's just very straightforward, which I don't mind. It all just comes down to the experience itself, which as a Saw fan, I really did enjoy. If you're not, then this game is a hard pass, especially at the price right now. But I really did have fun here, and if you're a fan of the series, I think you will too. But with Saw done, and before we head to the sequel, in the next video, we'll be platinuming a game I never thought I'd attempt. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to leave a comment with "I want to play a game" to let me know that you made it to the end. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave it a like because it helps let me know that you enjoyed yourself. Comment below some more games that you want to see get platinum next, as well as answering what's your favorite Saw film. Thank you as always to all my channel members for that extra level of support, and special thanks to those in the Bear Club: G&T Papi, Jackie White, Nugget, Dark Wolf, Daniel Fitzgerald, Scott Unwin, Steel Vanguard, NPO Crusader, Nef, and Lug Knights. It really does mean a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, go give my socials a follow if you fancy at MayorHairBear, join the Discord server to have a chat, go and chuck me a follow on Twitch if you want to see most of these platinum journeys live, or MayorHairBear VODs if you can't make the streams but still want to watch hours and hours of content at your own pace, and I'll catch you all in the next video.